Hello everyone, this is Luna from the Petersen Automotive Museum. Welcome to the Vault. Today I'm going to take you for a tour of Maranello masterpieces, the legacy of Enzo Ferrari. At age 10, Enzo Ferrari attended his first automobile race. The race he attended had a very profound effect on him. In fact, 12 years later, he would sell the house he grew up in to buy his very first race car. And then, of course, he started Scuderia Ferrari, his very own race team. After an interruption of motorsport activities, Enzo could finally go back at building his dream cars. He reassembled a team of his favorite engineers and developed this 1.5-liter engine, V12, which is carried by one of the cars that is in our exhibit, the 125S. Let's go look at it. The reason why this car is not only special but quite unique is because the manufacturer itself states to be the first car to carry the prancing horse badge. In 1947, Enzo described his creation as a promising failure. It debuted at the Piacenza circuit, and despite not finishing the race, it showed enough potential for Il Drache to double down its efforts. The car displayed here in the exhibit was obviously restored. In fact, none of the early Ferrari can be found in their original conditions. They were racing machines. They won, but also broke down, crashed, and often were repaired with upgrades that morphed their original appearance. What we do know from pictures is that the 125S looked like this at the time of the race in Piacenza. It is believed that this car has the original chassis and engine block. Going back to the engine, it's a very peculiar one. It's a V12, but with a very modest 1.5-liter displacement, which was designed by Gioacchino Colombo. Its 60-degree configuration was produced in numerous iterations all the way up to 1988, perhaps not coincidentally the year that Enzo Ferrari died. The 125S presented here was restored in '87 when its original chassis was discovered to have been reused in a 1948 166 Spider Corsa. And let's continue our tour with the 1952 Ferrari Barchetta. This is a 212/225. Why? Because it's a 212 body with a 225 engine, which is in fact a 2.7 3 carburetors V12 engine derived from race cars. The reason being, this car was specifically designed for a very special customers, which we will tell you about in a second. The 212 was bodied by Carrozzeria Touring in their superleggera construction method. Superleggera means super light in Italian. It was built by hand, and if you try really hard, you can notice the right side is slightly different from the left side. The paint is original and well polished, but you can notice the orange primer here and there. The engine was only recently rebuilt, but was not hauled or taken apart for several decades. The tires are not original, but we believe to date as far back as 1954. And about that famous customer, it was acquired by Ford Motor Company for Henry Ford II, and there are reasons to believe it inspired the development of the Ford's Thunderbird. It certainly has been modified in its lifetime, as it originally didn't have the exhaust pipes integrated within the bumper. And also, you may be wondering what Barchetta stands for. Barchetta means little boat in Italian, and it was a term first coined by a sport journalist to describe another Ferrari, the 166M, in 1948. Generally speaking, it refers to a body style that features an open-topped car and stripped of any foldable canvas and provisions. Essentially, a race-oriented car sporting an enveloping bodywork with a low-rise or completely absent windshield. This is a 1954 Ferrari 375 America. Only 3 of these were built by coach builder Vignale, and 8 more were styled by Pininfarina. The denomination America suggests that this car was from its conception intended for the US market, and its line suggests a non-European appeal. The two-tone paint is a testament to that. And look how beautiful this rear glass is. The Ferrari 375 America is powered by a long block Lampredi 4.5 V12 engine that delivers mind-blowing, at the time at least, 300 horsepower, making it one of the most powerful cars of its time. And fun fact, the chassis number is stamped on the engine block, a feature that appeared for the very first time in Ferrari's history. This is a 1963 Ferrari 250 Lusso. Lusso, of course, means luxury in Italian. It was designed by Pininfarina and bodied by Scaglietti, a very successful partnership in Ferrari's history. This car came out almost as intended from the get-go, since the prototype is almost identical to the car that was eventually produced. Although it was not intended to compete, the 250 GT Lusso made a few appearances in several sporting events in 1964 and 1965, such as the Targa Florio, the Tour de France, and more. The car features disc brakes, coilovers for better handling, and of course the unmistakable V12 engine. The stern of the body featured a small integrated spoiler, making the 250 GT Lusso the first Ferrari to incorporate such aerodynamics appendages. Despite being a two-seater, the interiors are as spacious and curated as the 375 America, with the gorgeous tan leather seats and other small detail that oozes minimalistic opulence. The body combines the front end of the 250 short wheelbase with the rear of what would be key features of the next generation of Ferraris. The follow-up to the 250 GT Lusso was the 275 GTB. Here we have a Series 2 finished in Giallo Modena. The 275 was the first Ferrari with fully independent suspension and the first Ferrari also with a transaxle gearbox with Porsche-style synchromesh and a limited slip differential. Under the hood, we have a Colombo 3.3-liter V12 engine with 6 Weber carburetors that enabled this Maranello beauty to reach 165 miles an hour. The engine has 4 overhead camshafts, and that's where the 4 in the car's nomenclatures come from. The car was made in steel with aluminum alloy doors, hood, and trunk lid, although an all-aluminum body was also an option from the factory. We can notice how the front end got much longer and aerodynamics play a big part in comparison to the Lusso. Overall, it is somewhat reminiscent of the 250 GTO. From the 275, we skip almost 2 decades to come here on this side where we have 2 absolute queens made in Maranello, a 1992 512 Testarossa and a 1990 F40 US spec. The name, as many already know, stands for Ferrari 40. It was launched for the brand's 40th anniversary, and famously, it was the last car project approved by Enzo Ferrari himself, who passed away in 1988 at the age of 90. It was a successor for the homologated special 288 GTO that was intended for FIA Group B 4-liter category, or 2.8 if turbocharged. After much resistance from the company, by then very much engulfed in bureaucracy, Chief Engineer Materazzi was allowed to develop the project only on the weekends, so it was very much a car born for passion. And so the GTO Evoluzione was born for a category that by 1986 was scrapped. The F40 was a consequence of the GTO Evoluzione. In fact, the air ducts on the door established a lineage with the 288 GTO and not the Testarossa, which was at the time the other top performance Ferrari offered to the public. The F40 is unequivocally a race car. It's Spartan, uncomfortable, extremely raw, and because all of that, legendary. The paint is so thin you can see the carbon fiber underneath. There is no radio, no electric windows, no AC, and the seatbelt suggests this car really belongs to a race circuit. The engine is not a 12-cylinder, but a V8 twin-turbo instead. They all left the factory in red and left-hand drive, although a number of them have been modified over the years. At the time, in 1987, the F40 was Ferrari's fastest, most powerful, and most expensive car for sale, and yet it received mixed reviews. It was considered not on par with its main rival, the Porsche 959, less technology-packed, almost antiquated. But time has been kind to the F40, now rightly considered one of the best cars ever made. If the F40 was too much of a bumpy ride, as Gordon Murray noted, in the early 90s Ferrari also offered the latest evolution of another 1980s icon, the 512 TR, where TR stood for Testarossa. The Testarossa was the successor to the 512 BB, and just like its predecessor, it did not have a V12 engine, but a 5-liter flat 12. This Pininfarina creation was a bold statement and a radical change from the past. It was a half foot wider than its predecessor in class, but also had a longer wheelbase, creating extra luggage space and headroom. The designers were originally trying to minimize the necessary side intakes, but then decided on making them a statement of style instead. The Testarossa, with its unique front, looks almost menacing, but at the same time, it was conceived so perfectly it didn't need any error correction, such as a rear spoiler. Testarossa, which literally means red head in Italian, refers to the red painted cam covers. 7 years later, we find this, the 512 TR, which has a revised engine with increased power, torque, and top speed. Generally speaking, although similar, the 512 TR was completely revised from the 85 Testarossa and can be easily identified because of a different headlight configuration and a lack of a black nose. A car that could not be missed in our exhibit is, of course, the Enzo, a 2004 successor to the 288 GTO, F40 and F50. It was developed in 2002 using Formula One technologies such as carbon fiber body, F1-style automated shift manual transmission, and ceramic composite disc brakes, as well as technologies not allowed in F1, such as active aerodynamics. The car was designed by then Pininfarina Chief and Art Center College of Design graduate Ken Akuyama. The power plant is a Ferrari F140B naturally aspirated 65 degrees V12 engine. It has 4 valves per cylinder and a displacement of 6 liters, generating a power output of 651 horsepower and 485 foot-pound of torque. As you can imagine, the Enzo is very fast, and it accelerates from 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. And to finish up our tour, let's dive right into the fastest car in the room, a 2015 LaFerrari, which goes from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. With a production run of 5 years starting in 2013, LaFerrari, the Ferrari in Italian, was intended to be the definitive car from Maranello. Like its predecessor, the Enzo, a decade earlier, LaFerrari makes heavy use of Formula One developed technology. It is a hybrid car. It is in fact propelled by a gasoline and electric motor regulated by a high-curve system derived from the ones in use in Formula One at the time. The combustion engine is a rear mid-mounted 6.3-liter 65 degrees V12. It generates a maximum power output of 789 horsepower and 516 foot-pound of torque. It's supplemented by a 161 horsepower high-curse unit, which provides short bursts of extra power. The car uses a carbon fiber monocoque structure designed by Ferrari's former F1 technical director, Rory Byrne. LaFerrari is notably the first Ferrari developed without any inputs from Pininfarina since the Bertone-styled 1973 308 GTB. Maranello Masterpieces is now on display at the Petersen Automotive Museum. Thank you for watching and see you soon.